Bang, bang, bang. What's going on, people? Greatness, Jesus. You know what? I'm just enjoying the intro. I'm not really deep in the situation. I'm like, raw. I'm not even on the screen. Oh, Ms. Younes will be here soon, people. Not to worry. Ms. Wow, have we got ourselves some mixed reporting, some confusion, some chaos? It's really bad, bro. But first of all, how are you doing? How are you feeling, bro?
Yeah, feeling a lot better. I was hit with COVID from the start of Christmas period till the end of the Christmas period. But I'm better now. I'm recovering really well. But man, that was, I don't know if you've ever had COVID, Matisse. Like that
I have,
thing
yeah.
is, oh, you have?
Yeah, for a very short spell.
I got ripped apart. I was hammered, man. High temperature, body aches. Yeah, I was just knocked out for like 3 days straight. But here we are, man. It's good. And it's obviously now nearing the transfer window period. And it's always going to be mad, Matisse, man. There's going to be mixed informations everywhere.
It is chaos, people. And I honestly, for me, it's like, I don't even know how to even tackle half of this because you could say there's even some credibility on both sides half of the time, but it is like literally split with Enzo Fernandez, especially, and Jorginho. It's been like two completely different reports we've been getting. Some people are saying that, you know, Jorginho wants to go back to Napoli as they do every single year.
Yeah.
And then everything from Jorginho's camp is that he wants to stay. But then we're seeing that Chelsea are apparently meant to be letting Jorginho and Kante go. But then Fabrizio comes out and says that there's an offer on the table. So it's all over the place.
Really I think you have to understand both sides. Like you really need to hear what each and every one of these reporters are saying and then really decipher like, well, does it make sense? Does that actually make sense? So you hear everything out because I think one of the best things you can do is always stay informed about what is actually going on and making sure that you cover all the bases. But then you try and eliminate, does that make sense? Does this actually logically, make sense of the whole situation? So I think that's where we got to use our own sort of mindset.
Yeah, and I mean, FFP doesn't exist. It's a myth. This is something we're going to talk about because Todd Boehly actually knows about FFP because I remember him speaking on it at his conference.
Yeah.
So he does actually know about FFP, but he's going to get to know really know FFP if he tries to do some of the deals he's trying to do without any money coming in. And this is where players leaving in certain positions. I'm actually intrigued to see what happens over January. Let's go. Big up, guys. Just watched Miz's stream. Big up, bro. Did you just finish streaming now, Miz? Did you?
Close to about 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, big up.
Maybe. I mean, Valen definitely was there, but he probably just caught like the replay of it.
Let's start with Enzo because I think everybody wants this deal to go through, don't they? You know, he's one young player of the tournament at the World Cup. He's wanted by every single big team at the moment that needs a midfielder. He's obviously a quality player. I've spoken to Adrian about him a lot, and you know he's literally perfect for us in terms of we've got a lot of ball carriers, we've got a lot of eights that can dribble and break the lines through carrying the ball and holding onto the ball like a Ruben or a Cover, but we don't have anybody who actually is passing the ball at the same level as him. We don't have anyone that's able to maybe slow and speed up tempo the way he does. He has the tenacity as well off the ball. Of course, we've seen his defensive work for Argentina. So he's got things that we lack, traits that we don't have or that we could use more of in midfield. And everybody that speaks about him speaks glowingly and says, listen, you can get this kid, you're going to be sorted. I mean, he's 21. But the issue is Benfica. And the way I saw this and why I wasn't so quick to make a video yesterday when I saw that Chelsea are just going to break the bank for Benfica. They're just going to They're just going to just break the bank. They're going to spend 106 million euros or whatever it is for Enzo Fernandez. There's no need to worry about negotiations. We're going to go straight in for the release clause. It's because of FFP. Literally, it's because of FFP. I was thinking to myself, with the amount of money we spent last summer and the amount of money that we've spent and the amount of money we need to spend, because we need a right back and we need a striker and then we need a midfielder. In my opinion, we need 3 players in one position. They're saying your fans on Miz a little bit. Is it really hot over there?
Can they hear the fan?
Yeah, they can hear the fan a little bit. Oh, okay.
Let me turn it.
Now it's actually a lot better. I don't know what you just moved the mic just like centimeters.
Oh, you know why? Because I was hot. Yeah. Now it should be better. Yeah.
So yeah, with Enzo, it was always like, and then people were like, okay, well, we'll just do what we did with Nkuku, and we won't pay, the release clause. We'll pay a little bit more so we can get him ahead of the queue, and take him off the market. And Benfica they're not here for it. They don't give a damn. They just want their money up front in the next couple of days, even. So it doesn't even give us enough time to sell. Or they're taking him off the market, they said, and they're moving on. They don't want to sell him. So well, how do you feel about this Enzo thing? Do you think we should still be pursuing it? Declan Rice is now actually cheaper than Enzo if you go by the going rate.
I just tweeted this out and I was like, should I really rattle the fan base? Like, should I really play with them? And I thought, no, you know what? I will. You're right, Matisse. I mean, all this talk about, us always interested about Declan Rice, this, that, the other, but the money and, West Ham's always so difficult to deal with. Well, right now, the word in the streets is that we're looking to break the bank for Enzo Fernandez for about 120 million euros. Declan Rice is a lot cheaper. So why aren't we going for him? Why aren't we? I thought he was the solution. Get him in and we are going to win the World Cup. I thought that's what people told me in the streets, that's what's going to happen. So it's a bit strange, but apparently we're still going to go for him in the summer. Coming back to the Enzo Fernandez situation, Matisse. Look, Benfica's got to play this smart as well. They know they've got themselves a golden asset here. And they've got to think hard and deep. Couple of things. One, for me, I don't know about you, Matisse. For me, Benfica is probably one of the dark horses in the Champions League. Like, they topped their group stage that had PSG, Juventus, and I think Maccabi Haifa. Like, no one expected Benfica to top their group stage. They topped their group stage. They've got an excellent talent with Enzo Fernandez. I think they've got that other Portuguese brother, Gonçalo Ramos, who got the hat-trick for Portugal in the World Cup. Like, they've got a decent enough team. And as I said, I think they could potentially do some damage in the Champions League. And Benfica, I don't know what sort of history they have in the Champions League, whether they've ever won it or not. I'm not really sure. I don't think Benfica's ever won it. Maybe they might have gone as far as semi-finals previously.
I think they might have. I know Porto have.
Porto definitely have. I remember that one.
Yeah.
Porto versus Monaco. Jose Mourinho. But Benfica, I'm not really sure. So Benfica,
they have actually. They won the European Cup in 1961, beating Barcelona.
Oh wow, there you go.
They got some good pedigree.
It's been a long time.
Same as us.
There you go. And they're probably looking at this situation that this is one great opportunity maybe for them to put up some sort of a run on this year's Champions League. So you have that. On the other side, you also have, 120 million euros. Are they ever going to get as much as money for Enzo Fernandez later on? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not really certain whether there's ever going to be a bidding war. And as great as Enzo Fernandez is, but is there ever going to be a situation where he's going to go for 130, 140, 150 million euros and there's a bidding war? I don't think so. So from that perspective, they really need to think, okay, is this the maximum amount of money that we can? And let's be honest, Benfica, they're a selling club. Like, they've never been able to keep any superstars in their lifetime. They've always had to let go of. João Felix, I'm pretty sure, was from Benfica as well.
Yeah.
Ruben Diaz, and so on and so forth. many players.
We got quite a few players with them. We have a good relationship with them with Ramirez, David Luiz, Nemanja Matic.
Matic. Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
the issue here is though that they signed him literally the summer just gone for 10 million euros. So it's like they literally just got him, and then to just give him away 6 months later is insane, isn't it?
But they probably never ever expected 6 months ago that a situation like this could happen where he is now worth 120 million euros. And for Benfica, Matisse, 120 million euros. Do you know what they're going to do with that? Their scouting team is very good. They'll just find another 3 or 4 superstars without money and kick on with their life again. So you have to adjust. Like, yes, they only bought this player 6 months ago. They don't want to let him go. I get it. But at the same time, it's a business. Football is a business. And I think Benfica, as I said, they're a selling club. They've got to think about what is the best time to sell Enzo Fernandez with the maximum amount of money. So there should be a vested interest. Do you honestly believe, Matisse, if they don't let him go now, come summer, I don't know whether the release clause still valid in summer?
Well, the way that they're making their threats of you need to do this in the next couple of days or it's a wrap because we're taking them off the market, that never made any sense to me, because I thought to myself, well, if he has a release clause, then there's no way that you can take him off the market unless the release clause is expiring before the January transfer window, which is what I would assume if that's what they're going to say. Now, I'm trying to find out when the release clause does expire, because usually release clauses do expire. But they, like I said, they only just signed him from River Plate for 10 million euros last summer. So I highly doubt the release clause expires before the end of the season. That's a very short span for a release clause. It doesn't really make any sense. So, and nobody has mentioned a release clause. Fabrizio has not mentioned a release clause expiring. No journalist that's reporting on Enzo Fernandez has mentioned a release clause expiring. I'd be surprised if the release clause is expiring before the summer. I would expect it to at least be in place for the first 2 to 3 seasons, considering how little they spent on him as well. They probably thought 105 million release clause was a really great release clause to put on him when they signed him for 10 million euros. But now it's actually starting to look a little bit dodge.
Do you know what? I still think 105 million pounds
is a lot of money.
Is a lot of money, man.
It is.
That's an insane amount of money. And as great as Enzo Fernandez is, but that level of money is still very, very audacious for.
You'd probably end up paying similar for Jude Bellingham, wouldn't you? If not more. Round about the same.
See, with Jude Bellingham, however, there is no release clause. No. I'm pretty certain there is no release clause. So all the power lies with Dortmund. So Dortmund are saying, well, you're going to have to give us 150 million for Jude Bellingham.
There will be a bidding war for him.
Yeah, there will be a bidding war for him. But I don't think anyone's going to get to that 150 million level. Yeah, it's interesting with Enzo Fernandez. I don't think any of these journalists really know anything about his release clause. They just know the amount. They don't know the ins and outs of it. But yeah, I'm like you. I'd find it very strange if the release clause is expiring at the end of January or it's expiring in June. But yeah, if it is expiring in June, I think then people are going to struggle to get someone like Enzo Fernandez, because if Enzo Fernandez ends up doing really well in the Champions League, his stocks are only going to keep rising. And you know, if Benfica end up getting some more silverware through Enzo Fernandez in the domestic side of things, I think this is why Chelsea are desperate to trigger that release clause, Matisse, because they fear, and this is the thing, none of us know when the release clause is expiring, but I think the way Chelsea is moving, they fear that it's expiring soon.
People are saying, so here's a comment here. They're saying, no, they are going to have Enzo sign another contract to boost the release clause. That's what they mean off the market. I don't think they can force Enzo Fernandez to sign a new contract. And Enzo Fernandez is contracted up until 2027. And that's what makes this deal also why they want him for so much money, is because, like I said, they just signed him on a 5-year contract. You're not going to sell a young player of the tournament who's 21, who's only going to get better. Massive inflation on top of that in this market. Every single year, we're just seeing bigger and bigger prices. Mudryk is looking like he's going to go for that. Well, Shakhtar Donetsk want minimum 100 million euros. They said they want Jack Grealish money for Mudryk, and Mudryk hasn't twisted up the world stage like Enzo Fernandez has.
Yeah.
And we're seeing Anthony 85 million. You know, we're seeing everybody go for round about 85 to 100 million these days anyway. If you're young and you got a lot of talent, that is actually the ballpark that we're now in. And unless your contract is running out or there's some sort of unsettlement, disagreement, you know, then that's when the price is starting to drop a little bit. Like with Declan Rice, the contract is starting to run down. Now it's come down to 70 million. Before it was always in that 100 million. Tchouameni was 100 million as well. 100 million euros for Real Madrid. So that's kind of the going rate for players. Benfica, from everything I understand, they really are not budging on this release clause. Like, there's a new quote actually that's just come out from Rui Costa, the Benfica president. He said, we would not like to sell Enzo Fernandez in January. Again, they're just waiting until the summer. But we are willing to satisfy the boy in the event of an offer of 120 million euros, the release clause. So literally, unless that release clause is met, they're not interested, and they don't want installments. They don't want cash up front and then more in installments later or add-ons or anything like that, which is what we did with Nkunku. They want the deal done now. So it doesn't surprise me because, like I said, that he just joined. And two, I think they actually might be able to get more for him. Is the way inflation's going. Who's to say that Enzo Fernandez and midfielders like him of his caliber won't be worth 120 million or 130 million in 2 years' time? And that's just the going rate. It could easily become that. You know, I never thought Mudryk, I've never even watched kick a football. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's worth 100 million euros. Do you know what I mean? I've never really even watched him.
But you know what you do though, when you set such a high price tag, and you're right, but he could potentially go for 120, 130 million. There's only a limited amount of clubs that can afford that kind of money. Like, and they've got to be, those clubs got to be ready with that level of money and the finances, how it looks like Benfica want the entire money in one go. Like, there's got to be a club who's able to just do that transaction, and that's the only transaction, because don't forget FFP, that is a real dilemma in the mix of everything. So
yeah,
when I think about from that perspective, it only leaves maybe Man City, PSG, and Real Madrid are the only clubs that could potentially go out there and just, let's say next summer, pay about 130, 140 million for Enzo Fernandez.
Chelsea have the money, right? Chelsea have the money. That's not the problem. Clearly, Todd Boehly has the money. Clearly, they want him. The problem is, like you said, FFP.
Yeah.
And this is where I get to the mixed reporting before we move on to Jorginho. Last night, when I put my video out, I was waiting for the whole day to conclude, because people are putting up different reports. It's all misconstrued and conflicting, and it doesn't make sense. So Fabrizio Romano last night was saying that Chelsea have doubts over triggering Enzo Fernandez's release clause, as one payment all in one go could create problems with FFP. So it's not like Chelsea don't want to pay. They will pay. They're happy to pay. It's not like they don't have the money. They have the money. But FFP, understandably, is the issue, right? And Todd Boehly's spoken about that before. And what makes it so difficult for Chelsea in particular is because we need players in multiple positions. We need a striker really in January. Exactly. We can't finish the January transfer window with just Aubameyang and Kai Havertz. And we need a right back, of course, for Reece James. So we need to actually bring in more players than just Enzo Fernandez. But then today, so this is the confliction, right? Today, Chelsea have informed Benfica this morning, literally 12 hours later. Chelsea have informed Benfica that they are prepared to break the transfer record.
Adam Newson, I think. He wrote it.
Adam Newson. So what's our transfer record? Our transfer record is what?
Lukaku, I think, isn't it?
Lukaku for £97.5 million.
Yeah.
So we're willing to pay more than £97.5 million. His release clause is 106
105 or something like that.
105 million pounds. That's his release clause. So surely we're just willing to pay the release clause.
See, the other thing about, if we don't get the transaction done now somehow and convince Benfica, the other issue is, Matisse, later on, let's just say Enzo Fernandez is worth 120, 130 million. It's not just the transfer fee. Like, you got to remember, there's a salary package that you're going to have to offer this player as well. So when you have such a huge transfer fee for a player, I don't know how much is then left behind for negotiations in terms of how much do you pay this kind of player per week now. I mean, Enzo Fernandez, I'm pretty certain he ain't coming to the Premier League for less than 200k per week. Let's be honest. Like, he ain't coming for less than 200k. And he's definitely going to come for a longer term contract. And I think this is where Man City, when they got Hairline, they were so ecstatic because, you know, they got him for about what? How much did Man City get Hairline for?
For around 65 million or something like that.
And that's why they're able to pay him that astronomical base salary that he's on, whatever it is. You can search it up. But there are things to think about. Like, you can, and this is where Benfica, they need to think. You can have a very high level of transfer price slapped on Enzo Fernandez, but you don't want to get into a situation where not many people are keen to buy for that level of money and also give him a very, very exclusive salary package. And then you're going to be left behind with a player who potentially doesn't want to stick around at your club anymore because their head's gone. They know what they've done. They're world champion. There are other clubs that are after him. And let's be honest, Enzo Fernandez was never going to retire at Benfica.
But the thing is, he's only been there for 6 months. So it's like, if Benfica decide that, you know what, cool, we could get money for him now, but he's only been there for 6 months. Let's at least have him for a season. I don't think interest is going to go anywhere. Like, I think Liverpool are going to still be there in the summer. Manchester City could lose Bernardo Silva, who's always linked to a move. Gundogan as well. They'll be there. Real Madrid have always been around, sniffing around for either him or Bellingham for like the last player to make a quartet in the midfield. I would love to sit here and believe that we can get this done in January, but it just the maths don't maths.
the maths don't mathing.
I'm
but
looking at the numbers, Miz, and it's not making sense.
Honestly, Matisse, do you reckon, let's say clubs like Liverpool, who have just got Gapco for 37 million, like they do their business in such a shrewd manner, very effective, very efficient. Can you really picture clubs like Liverpool, Man United are struggling? They're looking to sell their club. They can't even afford Gakpo, let alone, you know. And so, can you see these clubs coming in hard beyond 105 million release clause to go to in extent of 110, 120 million?
No, I think they'll pay the release. I think some clubs will pay the release clause.
That's what I'm saying.
In the summer, they'll just pay the release clause, and then there'll be a negotiations battle for Enzo. And I think Benfica know that they can get clubs to pay the release clause because Jude Bellingham is going to go, in my opinion, for a minimum of around that price. Jude Bellingham's not going to go for any less than 100 million. And everybody wants Jude Bellingham, and everybody seems to be prepared to pay 100 million. So that's the going rate for midfielders. So whoever doesn't get Jude is going to go for Enzo. And then whoever doesn't get Enzo is going to go for whoever. There'll be like a chain reaction, I think.
See, that's the thing, though. The whole topic is about the release clause. When is it expiring? I think that's what it all comes down to. Is it still available for summer? Is the release clause still available in summer, or is it expiring soon? I think that situation of the release clause, once we get clarification around that, will really, really help a lot of us out in regards to what's happening. So, honestly speaking, Matisse, if I'm Benfica, like if I'm Rui Costa right now, I'm thinking, look, yes, we got him for about 6 months ago for 10 million or whatever. I would have loved him to stick around, but it is what it is. He had a fantastic World Cup, and before the World Cup, he was lighting it up in the Champions League. Good thing we put a release clause. Imagine Benfica didn't even have a release clause. Yeah. Then they would have been done.
Well, they would have done it. They would have had a bidding war, isn't it? That would have been a bit different.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would have ever got beyond 105 million. Maybe, I don't know.
We could always go for Alvarez, but this is like having chicken goujons when you want, steak. It's like we would like to secure probably one of the top midfielders out there in this age bracket because somebody's going to get him, and it's probably going to be one of our rivals. Apparently, he wants a Premier League move. They know he wants a Premier League move.
It's going to be City, isn't it?
We have to try, and I know we want to be, we want to be smart, we want to be clever, and that's great. I want us to be smart and clever. You know, I don't want us to be a bunch of bimbos, which is what we've been over the years. But there's times where you have to spend money, and Liverpool have shown that. They've bought Van Dijk for record fee for defender. They've brought Alisson for record fee for a goalkeeper. There's times where you have to buy the top player in that position, because if you don't buy the top player in that position and your rivals get him, you can scout. You better pray that those players reach the level that the players that you didn't spend the money on. Because if they're just very good players and they look like great value for money, but they don't reach the heights that you need them to reach in comparison to the big money players, which is why they were bought for big money, then you won't be picking up any titles. You know, it's as simple as that. And everybody's here to pick up titles. Nobody's here to say, oh, we did great scouting and picked up some really, really good bargains, guys. And then we finished in a really strong, respectable third playing good football for 3 years on the trot. And we never really came close to the league title, because Liverpool have Enzo Fernandez and Manchester City have Bellingham. And they're just better players. There's nothing we can do. We tried. That's Arsenal. That's Arsenal under Arsene Wenger. So we have to be a bit careful. At times we're going to have to spend, unfortunately.
And players like Alvarez, like, I know he was the flavor of the town in the last transfer window on the final day. I don't know how many of you guys watch Alvarez on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to claim that I watch him on a day-to-day basis. I've watched him in the Champions League against Liverpool and against Napoli. I swear, there were a few bits and pieces which really got me excited, but there were a lot of other areas in terms of his awareness, in terms of sometimes he's a little bit lethargic as well. I don't know if he will cut it. And also for Mexico in the World Cup, I don't think he had a really good World Cup either. So why Alvarez? Like, I mean, okay, he's cheaper. He's a bit of a bargain buy. Fair enough. But as Matisse said, are you in the business to eventually one day win, or you want to be able to say, do you know what? You know, we were able to bring up all these gems, and we constantly finished third, but we were able to turn around those gems for a lot of profit. Like, we bought it for about 10 million, 12 million pounds, and we were able to sell them for about 50, 60 million. I mean, how do you want to look at Chelsea down the track? That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah. For the guys that are joining the stream late, we've already spoken about the fact that Chelsea want to pay in installments like they did with Nkunku, with add-ons, paying a little bit more than the release clause, and then wanting to pay in installments because of FFP, and Benfica only won it in one go. We've already spoken about that, so we've covered that already, and that's the problem, right? So that's pretty clear. Let's move on to Jorginho. And Jorginho is a player that is constantly linked with a move away. He's got 6 months left on his contract. He's able to talk to clubs in literally 2 days, along with Kante as well. Fabrizio is saying that we've got an offer on the table. The feeling is that we have an offer on the table, but it's too low for what Jorginho and his camp want. And that's where the hold-up is on signing a new contract. Same situation as last season with Rudiger and Christensen. And then there's some talk that apparently, Newcastle have been interested, which was then quickly denounced and denied by Daily Mail, a Telegraph reporter, I think it was Edwards. And then also on top of that, Napoli, again, their name is always just thrown into it because it's his former club, but they apparently are not looking at the high wages as well. But Jorginho's agent had these quotes for Fabrizio. He said, "We've received a proposal from Chelsea to sign a new contract, so it's our priority to discuss with Chelsea." They've always kind of said it's their priority to stay. They've said that so many times. Jorginho has spoken very well of Graham Potter. So there's a lot, and there's a lot going on there. And obviously, if Kante is not staying, then Jorginho's chances of staying is a little bit higher. Vice captain, all these things. Napoli's interest, we'd be happy of their interest. It's a special club for Jorginho, but there's nothing as of now. This is partly why I'm so gung ho on getting quality in the midfield as a replacement for whoever leaves, if it's Jorginho, Kante, or if it's both. Because the thing is with this is that we can go and sign Musa, or we can go and sign this young kid and that young kid, but they have to be ready to start games as of right now. As soon as they come in January, that midfielder needs to be ready to start games. A lot of people were getting very excited about Zakaria, about his performance the other day. I personally think it's a little bit overblown. I think people have not seen physical attributes in the midfield for a very long time. They haven't seen P&P in the midfield for a very long time. So they're overblowing and overgassing Zakaria's performances, Zakaria's performance in that match. I think he was decent, but he gave the ball away quite a bit. And there was quite a few times he was skipped past. And people say, yes, you can always be skipped past, but he is meant to be the reason that you don't get skipped past, right? Kante didn't get skipped past too much. That's the whole point of having P&P next to Jorginho. So I don't think Zakaria is the answer, and I wouldn't go and get him on permanent deal from what I've seen so far. I think the standards need to keep going up. And I still believe that, yes, he's been good. He's been a good squad player. He's been useful in the cameos that he's made, but we still don't have starting quality. He's still not good enough at passing the football. He's still not good enough at the final third. You know, we need to get a lot better. We need to up the standards. If he was, say, an Enzo Fernandez, if he was a bit better in the final third, if he was a Bellingham, we would have had 3-4 goals last game because he was in some dangerous positions. He had about 2 or 3 shots. So I'm not convinced on just saying, you know, we're fine now, because we're not. And if Jorginho and Kante are leaving, we need starting quality, you know. And if we're going to say that, you know, Ruben and Zakaria are going to be our starting players for the rest of the season, we ain't going to make top 4. We ain't going to make top 4 because these players, they have flaws in their game that...
Ruben's not even fit. He's injured.
Exactly. Both of them are actually injury prone or at least susceptible to injuries. I won't say injury prone. They're susceptible to injuries. So the standards are on the floor, bro. The standards are
massively.
The standards are in the mud. Do we realize who we're competing with? We're competing. There's 4 positions for top 4. I haven't given up on the season. I know a lot of people have. That's probably why they don't mind. I haven't given up on the season. I think giving up on the season before January as a Chelsea fan is ludicrous. I think we can't get into that mindset of giving up on seasons. I don't think Potter should be allowed to give up the season, or anybody should be allowed to give up the seasons. Mason's quotes after the game were saying that we're Chelsea, we need to get back to the top, and it's right. In the FA Cup, as much as I don't think we can win that game, we should be trying to win. We should be trying to beat Man City, and we should be able to try pull off a little surprise and go and win that competition. And Champions League, I want us to make a good account of ourselves. So if we're going to do that, then we need to have good players in the midfield.
100% agreed, man. 100% agreed. Look, the whole Jorginho situation. Look, I'm one of those fans. I understand the value he brings to the team, but I also understand the flaws he has as well. So I'm not one of those ones that I close my eyes to his deficiencies. I understand. I'm also not one of those fans that only look at his deficiencies. I understand the values he brings. I get the feeling Graham Potter really rates Jorginho. I just do. I feel like he wants a player in the ilk of Jorginho who's very comfortable on the ball, has the deepest midfielder, can help out, build up play, and can soak up the pressure and play those one touch passing game and really take care of opposition pressing. But at the same time, I also think Graham Potter, he wouldn't deter away if he found another particular player that can do what Jorginho does, but also add to all the other facets that Jorginho has a deficiency in. So, look, man, Kante situation, I think he's not even, we've not even seen him this season, and he's not going to be back till about March. So I think his time at Chelsea Football Club is probably done. And the reason I'm saying this is it's all linked with the leadership situation. Azpilicueta, this would probably be his last season. Thiago Silva, don't know. No one really talks about his contract extension. Thiago Silva, this is his last G left. So are we looking to start 2023-24 season with no Kante, no Azpilicueta, no Silva, and also no Jorginho? Like, I'm okay with no Aspi and maybe no Kante, but also no Silva and no Jorginho. I think this is where Graham Potter and Chelsea Football Club are at, where we can't just strip away all of these leaders from the club, like these young players. And you'd see so many players, man, like Reece James recently on social media said, the most technical players in the club, by his own words, Jorginho and Kovacic. Like these players really value. I'm pretty sure Mason Mount have said the same thing. Jorginho is ridiculous. So I don't know, man, Matisse. Like I'm happy for us to do the revamp, but I don't also want 2023-24 season to be like there is no leaders to look up on. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%. I hear you.
Like some people will say, but Miz, we got Reece James. Really? When's he fit? He's another one that I'm very concerned about his fitness.
Yeah.
So who's the next leader? Mace? I don't know, man. I don't know whether it's a bit too early for him to take up the reins as.
Oh, it's
as
way too
Chelsea
early.
captain.
He's not ready for that at all. This comment really bugs me because I made sure to star it. I made sure to put a lovely little star on it so I could talk about it. Because this is when people don't listen. This is when people don't listen, and it's very frustrating. I said Zakaria's performance was overblown, overgassed, and overhyped because he gave the ball away too many times in cheap situations for him to get the credit that he was getting. I didn't say you can't give the ball away. I know you can give the ball away, but if you're going to give the ball away but in basic situations too many times, then you can't have had a great performance. It's a decent to good performance at best. Do you know who actually had a better performance? Was Jorginho, who we're talking about. The person that made the most recoveries on the interceptions pitch,
as well.
Yeah, the most interceptions, the most recoveries on the football pitch. But nobody was giving Jorginho the same praise because people are used to seeing what Jorginho does and they don't appreciate it. They don't appreciate it. They're more impressed with the P&P because we don't have the P&P, which means anybody who shows P&P to a basic level gets overgassed. But Jorginho was actually better. Jorginho was actually better than Zakaria, but nobody spoke about Jorginho. Nobody. So
and you know why, Matisse? Nobody talks about Jorginho because that was a stock standard one. Like we've seen him do that.
That's the point.
Why hype about his performance when we know that's what he gives us? Like, do you know what I mean? And you're right about the Zakaria thing. Look, I thought Zakaria was also very, very good, very decent, but I also didn't understand why social media was going so nuts and over the top to the sense like that was the greatest defensive midfield performance.
Some of the passes that he played, I think he played did he play a ball over the top? A few balls over the top, didn't he? That could have happened for goals as well. He created quite a few chances in that match as well. But again, nobody really spoke about it. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's the analysis on that one wasn't really fair. And I know why. Like I said, because anybody who shows recovery tackles, there was a great tackle that Zakaria made that gave me shades of Kurt Zuma that went out for a corner. Do you remember the recovery tackle where he slid in?
Yeah, it was obviously a good recovery tackle. Yeah.
When people watch that, they're like, oh my God, we haven't had that in ages. So we're going to focus on that and we're going to disregard the fact that Jorginho really has been doing loads of really important interceptions in that match. Because
Matisse, can we actually talk about this in a deeper sense? Because this is actually a fantastic topic and it's great that I'm having the chance to talk to you about it. What is it with certain parts of the fan base? Like we've literally seen Argentina with players like McAllister, Enzo Fernandez, and De Paul, who was a little bit more advanced, a bit more box to box. He was the player that had the dog in him. But McAllister and Enzo Fernandez were the two that were generally the deepest and were manipulating with the ball and making sure the passes and the build up. They're the ones who are the generals at the back. Why is it, Matisse? Is it the English Premier League thing, or why do fans think there's only one way of playing football? That is, you got to have a defensive midfielder that is in the ilk of Declan Rice or Zakaria, or like that pace and power. Like it's all about brute, the tackle.
It's the template, isn't it? And for me, I don't mind it because history does state that, if you have a Casemiro, if you have a Rodri, if you have a Nemanja Matic in his prime, in his pomp, if you have a party, you do tend to perform better in the league. It's just the way the Premier League is being built that we need a 6. And I agree with that. But you need a 6 that can do what Casemiro does, right?
This is what I'm saying.
What Casemiro does is...
Or what Rodri does.
Casemiro is dominating games. Like, this guy is just ripping shit apart. We saw him at Stamford Bridge. He was incredible. And It's no surprise to me that Jorginho is at his best when he has that type of profile next to him. Jorginho, for me, was really good. He had Zakaria next to him to kind of cover up some of the flaws. When Jorginho played with Kante in the Champions League, he was great. Kante covered up some of the flaws. When he was at Napoli, he had Allen next to him, who joined Everton. He covered up some of the flaws.
Both the eights.
Even
both
Italy, Verratti and Locatelli or Barella next to him for the Euros. Again, little bit of mobility. Jorginho always does best when he's surrounded by people that can negate for some of the flaws. But you have to make sure that you're not sacrificing the technical side for the defensive attributes. So yeah,
see, this is what I'm saying, Matisse. Like players like Casemiro, players like Rodri, they have that defensive attribute in abundance. But what they also have is that technical ability, that ball playing ability. Have a look at the way Rodri played against Leeds yesterday. Like sensational. Have a look at the way Rodri played against Liverpool. As Matisse said, have a look at the way Casemiro played recently against Nottingham Forest. Like, I'm not saying don't get someone who knows how to tackle. Of course, get someone who knows how to tackle. But what I'm trying to have this conversation here is that too many fans, they just want a tackler. Why are you?
It's two extremes, isn't it? Two extremes.
Yeah. Why aren't you thinking who's capable of being an all-rounder? Why aren't we looking at defensive midfielders in the ilk of Rodri, in the ilk of Casemiro? Why does it have to be just an absolute blockbuster and then you have someone who can play the ball playing ability? No, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. And then the other factor that I wanted to say for Argentina specifically, Enzo Fernandez and McAllister, this is what he was doing in Brighton as well, and he's still doing that. These two players, they can play 6, 8, 10 easy. They can easily play 6, 8, 10. The best part about these players is they may not be absolute blockbuster tacklers, but they read the game well. This is why their interceptions are high. This is why all of the other metrics are so much higher, because they don't need to go out there and tackle like crazy animals. Do you know what I mean? They read it so quick, they'll intercept the ball. So just have a broader mind, man. It's not just about pace and power. You can have pace and power in other areas.
I remember there were midfields not so long ago that had Gallagher in over Cover. I mean, you just seen what Cover's done on the World Cup stage. I mean, it was starting to really hurt my heart and soul that people were genuinely ready right now to take Cover out of the team and throw Gallagher in there. That just, for me, speaks volumes about some of the bias. Like, genuinely, no word of a lie. I love Cobham. I love Levi Colwell to come through. I think he's got immense talent, but we have to put a stop to some of this. I mean, really, we were going to actually do that. We were going to actually have Gallagher. There was legit lineups all over social media with Gallagher in the midfield already, just immediately, with no recollection of Kovacic being in there or any. It's just insane to me. Like,
yeah, the disrespect.
It's honestly insane to me. Whether you think Cover's good enough or not is another question, but I can tell you for one thing, he's leaps and bounds better. He's leaps and bounds better. But for me, back onto it, what Jorginho has done. I've stuck up for him a lot because I do feel like his performances get overlooked, but it doesn't stop the fact that I feel like we still do need someone who's more of an all-rounder, because you couldn't leave Jorginho on his own in the. You couldn't leave Jorginho on his own in the defensive midfield position and say what Manchester United did, which was they committed about 7 bodies forward and they left Casemiro on his own to deal with it. You couldn't do that with Jorginho because he wouldn't be able to handle any transition. So I still do want someone that's more all-rounded, that can deal with that. Let's move on to Reece James, who is the realism strikes that this guy is it's not looking good, is it? I mean,
it's a problem, bro. It's a problem. It's actually a problem.
Do you know what's so mad about this situation? And I wish I could get Younes' thoughts on this as well. Reece James, right, before the World Cup, he was sending a lot of sly digs to Southgate on socials. He was liking tweets, and I don't stick up for Southgate often. I really don't, because I don't rate him as a manager too highly. And I think when it comes down to the very key tactical decisions in game, he does tend to blunder and fumble the bag. And that's when, things tend to go left. But he got that right. Reece James was sending little slight digs, liking tweets, how comes this player gets to go and I can't go? How comes Phillips and Walker get to go? I can't go. What's going on? And I was looking at, I was thinking, I know you want to go to the World Cup. I want him to go to the World Cup. I'm not so selfish that I'm like, I'm so happy Reece James is missing the World Cup because he gets to come back to Chelsea. Like, no, you've worked hard. You are world class. You are a top player. You are one of my favorite players. I want you in that England team so everybody can go and see how great you are. I want you to face Mbappe. But no.
Bro, he wouldn't have lasted.
Bro, he would not have lasted, bro.
But and plus, when would he have played? He would probably played against France. He would have got injured against France because that was a high tempo game.
Would he have made it to France? I mean, he literally played 60 minutes and was gone. He circled the motion, and as soon as I seen that, I said, "We're pissed again. We're screwed."
Yeah, and you know what? And to compound what you just said, I don't know if you've seen recently his personal trainer in the Instagram coming out and have like saying not like it almost sort of giving the vibe that did Chelsea push Reece James to start early against Bournemouth? And I'm like, dude, just don't do this. All this stuff, all the other people that are associated with you, just tell them to keep their mouths shut. I think coming back to the Reece James situation, you're right. First of all, look, he's probably hurt. That's why he reacted like that for the World Cup situation. But now, I think Reece James himself, like I was saying this to my viewers the other day when I was doing the live stream, Matisse, when you go to the doctor, you got to explain to the doctor first what's wrong with you, right? Like you can't just be like sitting there and go, why don't you do a full body scan on me and find out what's wrong with me? Like you got to go up to the doctor and go, look, Mr. Doctor, I've got XYZ issues in my body, right? You got to know your body very well. So how much does Reece James actually know his own body? Did he feel that he was completely fit to start against Bournemouth? He needs to be like, so many people coming out and saying, Miz, come on, blame the medical staff. I'm like, how can I blame the medical staff? Like the medical staff wouldn't do all of that work.
We sacked all of the medical staff.
and all of the medical staff are sacked anyway. Like no doctor, no physio is gonna is gonna go up to Graham Potter and go, do you know what, Graham? Reece is probably about 80% fit. I'm not really sure whether you should start him. And Graham's just gonna say, no, look, you know what? I don't want to listen to you. He starts, right? No one, like I highly doubt, I'm pretty certain the doctors gave the green light. They spoke to the player as well. The player, I'm pretty certain, said, yep, I want to start. And then Graham said...
Player's always going to say that, isn't it?
That's the thing, Matisse. He shouldn't anymore.
I know.
He should know his body.
I know.
He has to.
But
do you know what I mean?
I'm going to stick up for him because players are irrational in the heat of battle where first game back, we're under pressure. We need to win. 3 points is a must. He's getting all of his social media flooded. Reece James, we miss you. We need you back. Reece James, we're counting on you. Reece James, you're our best player. Reece James, you're our future captain.
Fierce.
And one of our best players yet. And he is not in the right frame of mind to be making that decision. That is why there has to be people who are less emotionally attached and people that are more aware of the overall situation to make that decision.
So do you think they weren't aware of the situation?
They have to be. They have to be aware of the situation. I'd never leave it up to a player to unless it's like something very minor. Then okay, cool. Let's see what the player has to say about it. But when it's a recurring issue where he's constantly injured, I wouldn't really be hanging my hat on the player to say, okay, when are you ready to start matches again? It should really be there should be a clear plan. There should be a very, very clear plan of we're going to give you 20 minutes off the bench. Then we're going to give you 30 minutes off the bench. Then we're going to start you for 45 or 60. And you're not moving from that. Like, I don't give a damn what you think. I don't give a damn what you want. That is the plan. That is what we're doing going forward. And you have to be patient.
So I think the plan, Matisse, was, and I completely get you. Okay, let's just say in this particular case, we don't want to listen to the player because they're going to be emotional. No problems.
I think the plan was the player gets 60 minutes. I think this is what Graham Potter said.
We almost got there.
And he almost got there. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if there's anyone to blame here. I'm not going to sit here and blame Graham Potter, because he would have made an astute observation and an awareness of the whole situation, and he would have got all of the clearance from the medical staff room. And the medical staff room would have got all the clearance after doing rigorous training, activities with Reece James to get to that conclusion. So I don't know, man. Like, Matisse, would looking at his latest injury, do you actually blame anyone here? Like, I don't know if I can blame anyone here.
Looking back, and it is hindsight. I'm not a doctor. I don't understand, what the schedule should be. Someone said Younes went to go and find money for Enzo Fernandez. It's the festive period, people, so you have to bear with us on the shows. It's not gonna like how it usually is. But for me personally, 60 minutes, and someone has said it here, it's a bit strong, isn't it? 60 minutes is strong. He didn't play any of the warm-up games. I don't think he didn't play against Aston. He didn't play against Aston Villa. Did he play the second one? Did he play the second one?
Yeah, 60 minutes apparently. 60
did he?
Minutes.
60 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently, yeah.
The second one was like a game over 45 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So it wasn't even a proper match. It was some weird thing where everybody got their opportunity to showcase. But 60 minutes is a lot. It's definitely a lot. And in hindsight, it would have been great if we just maybe brought him off the bench. Usually when someone's coming back from an injury of this severity, you kind of bring them off the bench. Usually, I think because his importance to us is so great and the drop off is so massive. Yeah. Statistically, I think when he was on the pitch, we conceded 1 shot on goal. When he left, we conceded 8.
Two different teams.
Two different teams. So I think because his importance is so severe to the team, we, much like Kante in the past, probably Kante shouldn't be starting when he's coming off an injury. He should be, he should be maybe coming off the bench. And the same goes for Cover. But because of their importance to the team, we kind of maybe overstepped the mark a little bit. And yes, he's been training for 2 weeks. Yes, he's played the warm-up game. But the Premier League is a different beast. Whatever we did behind closed doors is not going to compare to the Premier League. No chance. Like, not even 50% the same thing. It's just not possible. So...
But Matisse, then, okay, fair enough. Let's say for argument's sake, Mr. Graham Potter, you got it wrong this time. You shouldn't have done that. Okay. Now he's injured for a month. And moving forward, how do we... I'm honestly a bit lost with Reece James. I love him. I'm not saying that we got to get rid of him. No way. Like, this guy's a world-class player. We've given him a new contract, and I want him to stick around at Chelsea Football Club forever if I can. But what I'm saying is, now he's got a month off. How do we now progress? Like, little bits and pieces, minutes off the bench again. I mean, what's the guarantee that once he's completely fit again, that he's not going to get injured again? Because he has been injured again. Like, since he's joined Chelsea Football Club under Frank Lampard, every single season he has been injured, regardless of whether, him just coming back from injury and then recurring that injury again, or he's been completely fit and all of a sudden he got himself injured. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there is an issue with his body. This is what I'm trying to say, is that there's a particular issue with his body composition and the role he plays for Chelsea Football Club.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy
that is told to do heavy-duty workload on the right-hand side. I don't know, and this is what Thomas Tuchel alluded to, that he is not sure whether Reece James's body can keep up with the role that he plays for Chelsea Football Club in the right side. Do we perhaps in the future, just for his body's sake, need to give him a different role? I don't know. A defensive midfield role, somewhere where he doesn't have to run around up and down and create overloads and whatnot. Like, I'm saying we need, as a fan base, need to think outside of the box with Reece James. Unless someone can come here and tell me, Miz, this is the last one. after this injury, his body, we've all taken care of. There shouldn't be any other issues after this.
He's basically relied upon to do everything down that right hand side. Build up play, chance creation, goal scoring, defending, 1v1, like literally everything. He's basically the whole right hand side. How many times have we sat here and said we don't even have a winger? This guy is basically our main goal threat at times in this team. It's
creator, goal scorer, defender.
You want him in the box. You genuinely want Reece James coming onto the ball in the box to shoot. You want Reece James crossing. You want Reece James defending the 1v1. You want Reece James ready for an outlet and build up. You want Reece James defending in the box as well when we're defending. You want Reece James literally everywhere. So you actually would love to multiply and duplicate Reece James as a human being because he's that critical. If we could, we would take him at right back, probably right wing and up front. Like he's that important, and probably right side centre mid as well to give us a little bit of something different in midfield. That's how important he is. We would actually duplicate him probably 4 times. I don't think playing wing back helps. So that's one thing, because if you play him wing back, then you know he literally has the whole right hand side. So I think if you move him to a back 4, that helps. You give him a right winger. You give him the Ben White role, kind of, where you have a winger ahead of him and you don't ask him to do everything, which is a shame because you want Reece doing everything because he's that good. You know, you don't want to restrict Reece. You want to free him up. But I think we do ask him for too much. And I think that's why Koulibaly was playing on the right-hand side, because you don't want Silva having to burst out to the right side constantly to cover. But I think Koulibaly's got, he's a more quick, he's a more pacey. So if Reece James does get forward, then he doesn't have to be so intense all the time getting back. Of course, he still needs to get back. So it's a very small point, but Koulibaly is going to get out there a lot quicker than Silva is. And then if you do have to move to a back 3 while Reece James is getting back, then you've got Cucurella sliding in as a left side centre back. Whereas if you put Silva on the right and Koulibaly in the middle, it's not quite the same thing. So I think that was partly there to negate him. I do think that this is why we need to bring in a new midfielder on that right hand side of the double pivot. Mason played there the other day. He's got a lot of energy. He should cover a lot for defensive side of things as well. But can you imagine if you had Kante in his prime on that right hand side of midfield for Reece James? Like, it would just help so much. He's literally, obviously, but then Kante's been run down as well. But it was Kante's game to do that. He was always going to inevitably be run down, but it was his game to cover 2-3 players. That's just what he did. You wouldn't ask him to do anything differently. People are suggesting Livramento. I've ditched that personally ever since he had that massive injury.
Has he come back?
Haven't seen him. I wanted Livramento before he got injured. I wanted him to stay, but now that he's been, I don't want any more players.
He may never be the same again, Matisse. He may never be the same.
I don't want any more players on massive injuries. You've spoken about it with Fofana. Nkuku's injured right now. We have to be a lot more careful than we've been. Man City signed an injury-prone Calvin Phillips. They haven't seen. Do you
know the brother that we're getting now, the LCB, Benoit Badiachile? Have you seen his injury record? Hamstring injuries left, right, and center for that kid as well. He's 21 and he's already picked up like 3 hamstring injuries. I hope some people are doing their homework on these new recruits.
This comment says we don't know Rankine exists.
I think
he's about that.
I think he's an academy boy, right? I've got no idea.
I mean, from what I'm aware of, he plays wing back, doesn't he? Even still, you want to throw Rankine in to start Champions League this season? Is he ready? Personally, I think we need to buy someone. I would love to have him as a second choice. I'm open to selling Aspie or letting Aspie go last season, let alone this season. But for him to be immediately thrown in right now is that's a big ask. And I personally, like I said, I don't think this season should just be all about, we're just developing, trial and erroring, mistakes are fine. I think we need to be taking the season a lot more seriously than we are. If we don't get Champions League football and we miss out on key targets, which we could easily do, Newcastle have money now. I don't think we should rest on our laurels that we're always going to be top of the pile in terms of players' preference. Money talks, right? Haaland's at Man City. So for me, we need to try and make Champions League if we can. I don't think we should just throw that away by going down the route of development completely. But listen, I'd love to see him get cameo minutes, but we're not in cup competition in Carabao, so he hasn't even had his Premier League debut or his You know, FA. He hasn't even had a senior. He hasn't even had a debut. I'm not going to vouch for anyone to be starting consistently at right back without even making a debut yet. That's just nuts.
And it's got to be. It's the players that are genuinely good from the academy, they do somewhat end up being in and around the squad anyway. Like recently, Omari Hutchinson, Lewis Hall. Obviously, if you go back even further, the likes of Reece James and Chalobah and Mason Mount and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, so on and so forth. Rankin, if he's that level, will eventually find his way. But we need a right back from the academy that's in the ilk of that Man City player.
Rico Lewis is
Rico. Yeah,
he was insane.
Rico Lewis. Like that guy is now playing in a manner where Pep's got him to play in midfield. I don't know. I think you might have done the.
I watched the game. Rico Lewis was ridiculous. He was.
Did you see how they were playing, Man City?
I saw him. He was tucking in.
Yeah, they were playing in the 3, and
John Stones went out. Yeah, and he tucked in.
And then without the ball, Rico then went out wide to defend. He was as a fullback.
He was basically Zinchenko, wasn't he?
He was Zinchenko on the right side.
The difference is, and people will be like, okay, why can't we do that with ranking? Because we're not stable like Man City. We're not stable. We don't have a consistent midfield. We don't have someone like Rodri who can partner Rico Lewis in the first phase and say, right, I'm going to be here to protect you if you do receive the ball in a tight space. And he didn't give it away because he was ridiculously press resistant. We don't have that stability. We don't know our midfield partnership from one game to the next. We don't know who's starting right wing one game to the next. That is not the right environment to throw ranking into and to say, oh, here you go. Here you just go and just take over and develop. It would be lovely to say that he's going to do it, but Man City have got nothing but stability around him. So he's kind of doing the he's kind of doing the Zinchenko Arsenal role only on the right hand side, the way he tucked in.
He did it so good as well.
He was ridiculously good.
So good.
He was ridiculously good. Was Enzo ready for a top team 7 months ago? Yes, he was. I was ready for this. He was playing for River Plate.
And Man City wanted him as well.
Yeah, Brighton was scouting him, Wolves were scouting him, Man City was scouting him, but they opted to not go for him and Alvarez. But he was actually extremely impressive in that River Plate team. Everybody that speaks on South American football have said that this guy was ridiculous for River Plate alongside Julian Alvarez, who was having brilliant, record-breaking goal-scoring kind of, metrics and whatnot. And yeah, he was a great player. So it wasn't by accident that he just randomly ended up at Benfica. Benfica now to scout. They're very, very good in that regard. We do produce very good right backs, so maybe he's a special talent, but it's definitely a big risk, because usually what you would like to do is you would like to bring them in as a second choice, and then you give them little minutes here and there, and then if the opportunity arises after they've had some cameos, then you throw them in. But to just throw him in out of nowhere with no build up, no minutes here or there, nothing. It's a tall order. It's definitely a tough task, especially because that's the side that predominantly we go down. That's the side that we rely upon to actually do our build up play. So unless we're going to move more down to the left, we'd be sacrificing quite a lot. What else has been happening? Obviously, Juranovic has been linked from Celtic and whatnot. Let's see what happens there. We don't really know. I think who else has been linked? Everybody, isn't it? Kone was linked from Mönchengladbach.
Well, we got the new boy, the striker, the Ivorian striker, David Datro Fofana. I think we're going to see him train with the first team before we make a decision whether we want to let him go or not on loan. But yeah, for me, it's that right back, man. I can't, we know what our issues are. When there's no Reece James, the entire football collapses for us. So, and we saw that as soon as he got injured, the way Bournemouth came back into the game, and that's Bournemouth. But I'm not surprised. I've seen that kind of football for the past 12 months when Reece wasn't around and Chilwell wasn't around. So at least now on the left side, we can rely on Cucurella. But we need similar level of confidence on that right side. And someone like Azpilicueta, as much as I love him as legend of the football club, but I'm worried. Even against Nottingham Forest next up, I'm worried because of that distinct issue on that right side. Because Raheem Sterling can't be free anymore. He always has to think about, well, I got to track back and help out Aspie. Players like Jorginho and whoever else, when they're building up from the back, they can't always feel 100% confident with Aspie. Aspie can get beaten. So then it drags some of the CBs out of their position. And then you have midfielders that get blamed because they're not covering for the CBs whenever there is a transition. So it's a domino effect. When you have someone who's incapable of holding that one spot down, it has a domino effect. I don't know whether Graham Potter just switches back to a back three now and maybe has Azpilicueta as a wing back just so that he doesn't get dragged out. It's concerning times again, man. We better get someone in because we've got a lot of fixtures in January, Matisse. A lot.
Yeah. It's going to be a long January. And I'm not really looking forward to the reporting because so far the reporting's been pretty damn confusing. So I hope there's a lot more clarity, to be honest, because it's been a mess so far. But we'll see. I highly doubt it will. Chelsea at the moment are the worst team to get news on. I'm not going to lie. I really, maybe other people will enjoy it, and people obviously it's great for content. You've got loads of videos, but I don't enjoy the confusion. I would like it to be a little bit more clear cut than this. It's very, it's just all over the shop.
And do you know why there's that confusion as well, Matisse? Is I think some of these journalists, I don't know whether they're linked with some of these players as well. Like they tend to be a little bit biased to certain players, and they tend to have, glamorous style of reporting for certain players.
Declan Rice.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. But you knew where I was going with it. Because
it's mad that no bid has gone in, but if a bid doesn't go in this summer, then bloody hell, I'm done. Like, genuinely done. Someone was asking what's a better partnership, Bellingham and Enzo or Rice and Enzo. I'd say Rice and Enzo is more balanced for sure. But listen, if there has to be a bid this summer for Rice. If our interest is as clear cut and it's always been, which I believe that there is interest, but if the way it's been spoken about over the years, there better be a damn official bid this summer. Because if there's not,
why not in January? Well, I don't understand.
Because he's not moving. He's not moving in January. They won't.
Why isn't he moving? Why not? West Ham are in the mud, and West Ham, I think,
exactly.
Like West Ham are now in a situation. Even I think Mark Noble said it the other day.
He's their captain, though. You wouldn't. I don't think they will sell their captain in January when they could potentially sack their manager and they need to get themselves back to a respectable position in the Premier League. I don't think they'll do that because West Ham they've spent money to be ambitious enough to actually want to challenge for European places. So to sell your captain mid-season would just signify that they've just given up on the season, really.
Yeah, but surely they, as a football club, know your captain has been twerking for Chelsea for a long time, and with his best mate Mason Mount. And Mark Noble recently said that they're now in a situation where they know Declan Rice wants to play for a bigger club and play in the bigger stage. I think David Moyes has recently said that he's not going to hold back Declan Rice any longer. West Ham, what is your ambition this season? You're not going to get top 6. You're not going to get anything substantial. Come in right now and get as much as money as you can and start your rebuild. Why wait till summer to do this? And is Declan Rice happy at West Ham at the moment? It doesn't look like. Some of his performances
they don't give a damn. Trust me, they don't give a damn. They've been holding this man for ransom for. They don't give a damn. They've been holding him for ransom for years. They'll happily do it for another 6 months. They don't give a damn. They are shameless.
It's ridiculous, bro. Well, it better happen in the summer. It better happen in the summer. That's all I'm saying then. It better happen in the summer.
Dean Henderson to have a masterclass against us. Before we wrap up, no Younes today, unfortunately. He's dealing with, personal stuff. So nothing bad, but personal stuff. So, it happens. And you'll see that on the next show as well. So buckle up. And Battle of the North is changed time as well. So it won't be today. It will be on Saturday. Like I said, festive period is hectic. So yeah, in terms of Nottingham Forest, are you confident?
I am confident, even with the adversity of Reece James. I am confident, but I'm not going to be surprised if our football doesn't look as crisp as it kind of did against Bournemouth in that first half, or up until Reece James was around. So, um, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm confident that we should still get the victory, even with Azpilicueta, though. Like, we should still be able to get a 2-0 victory minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a win because we have to. We have to win again. It's no option. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think it will be a little bit trickier. Someone was saying bring back Sterling from loan for right back.
Dujon Sterling.
Yeah. This is why people do sometimes get at the academy, because we just think that academy can solve every single problem. I think it can solve some problems, but not every problem can be solved by the academy. Some players are just not good enough. Even if they've had a massive injury and it's unfortunate, it's just not good enough. Just not good enough. I think when I looked in the summer and there was an argument between him and Jonathan Klaus or whatever it was, I was like, statistically, no one's watched Blackpool. Right, so let's get that out of the way. No one's watched Blackpool, so no one knows what he's been doing week to week. Statistically, he had no assists, no big chances created, nothing. I said, respectfully, he doesn't deserve the chance to start for Chelsea or be in the Chelsea first team. We need to make being in the Chelsea first team have a little bit more of a thing to it. You know what I mean? Like, I know the youngsters are getting impatient, so everybody's panicking and shitting themselves, but let's not pretend like getting in the Chelsea first team should just be something that you take out of a cereal box. Actually make youngsters actually work for it a little bit, as well. Don't extremism is a bitch, right? We don't give any chances to academy players, so then now we want to give chances to every academy player. Let's find a happy medium of actually making it mean something. Do you know what I mean? Not everybody deserves to play for Chelsea. This is still Chelsea Football Club. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just a bit mad sometimes, but we're going to wrap up. Make sure you subscribe, smash up the likes, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Younes will be back. And like I said, it's a triple upload today. London Club's Carnage is premiering at 1:00. So 45 minutes. You have that show premiering. It's a fun show. We had a lot to discuss. Lawless was getting attacked by Arsenal fans. And then FIFA career mode is back. Okay. You've been asking for FIFA career mode. I am not delaying it anymore. Today, 8:00, we're going to do FIFA career mode. Miz, let them know where to find you. Anything coming up, bro?
Just like always, you're potentially going to get 2 uploads. You're going to get a live earlier on UK time, I don't know, 8:30, 9 a.m. And then you're going to get a wrap up of the day's events later on in the evening around 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. UK time. And then besides that, you're going to get the watch-alongs, Chelsea ones here and there. You may get other clubs as well, which I'm trying to divert into. And the previews, reviews, and maybe some reactions of other matches and whatnot. So yeah, let's reach 20,000 subscribers, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, guys, big milestone, man. Big milestones for us. Yeah, keep pushing. Subscribe, smash the likes. Subscribe to Miz. Link is in the description as always. Subscribe to Younes, even though he's not here. Big up Younes every time. Nearly at 35k, so let's keep pushing. I'll be doing the Liverpool-Leicester watch-along tomorrow. We're going to keep covering as many teams as possible because I have to prepare for the worst, which is that Chelsea will potentially do a madness this season and not reach the objective. So I have to make sure that yesterday, Miz, I was literally cheering on Man City for that win because I can't have Arsenal win in the league.
I was cheering them on as well.
I found another agenda.
I was cheering on Rice the other day. If you find it hard to believe, I was cheering West Ham on. I was saying, "Come on, Rice, show me why I need you at Chelsea. Show me now." And then he got spun by Saka.
You were cheering against Arsenal. Some weird burner accounts on Twitter keep saying you're an Arsenal fan. What the hell?
Oh, bro.
This is breaking news.
Oh man, some weird accounts are always trolling me. I love the mute button though. I never get to see any of their replies. So
the mute
I love the mute button.
It's bellissimo.
Beautiful. I've muted so many people just a moment ago with my Rice tweet. I was just going around mute. Yep, you're mute. Yep, you've insulted me. Mute. So
again, the issue on Rice is sometimes that the analysis is always never It's never fair, is it? Whenever he has a little drop-off game, we never see anybody talking. So it's a madness, but we shall see. Hopefully a bid goes in. I actually want a bid to go in because then at least I haven't been sold a liar this whole time. Because if a bid doesn't go in, if a bid does not go in this summer for Declan Rice, I am ringing phones. I'm ringing people's phones and cussing. All right, just know that. Just know that. In a bit, people, peace.